Hello, my friends. I'm glad you are here. Take a slow breath. Let your shoulders drop a little. You do not need to hurry. We can listen together. Now let's begin with a simple question. Have you ever noticed how normal money feels today? You may hold a paper note, you may hear coins in a pocket, you may see numbers on a phone screen. It feels ordinary. But long ago, people did not use money like this. They still needed food and safety. They still worked. They still traded. So how did money begin? And how did it slowly change where people went, how they worked, and who had power? Long before large cities, people lived close to the land. A small group stayed near water, trees, and animals. They moved with seasons. They carried only what they could. Their days were full of simple work. Find food, make shelter, keep warm, stay safe. In those early groups, people shared many things. A hunter brought meat. Someone gathered plants. Someone shaped stone into a cutting tool. Someone watched children while others worked. Life depended on helping each other. You can imagine a quiet morning in such a place. The air is cool. Someone checks a fire that is still warm from the night. Someone brings water. A person cuts plants for a meal. Another person cleans an animal skin and hangs it to dry. People work and people share, because that is how the group stays alive. In a small group, exchange was not formal. People helped because they knew each other well. They remembered kindness. They also remembered who did not help. Over time, this helped the group stay together. But groups did not always stay alone. Sometimes they met other groups near a river or a shared path. Often they met during seasonal movement, when animals moved and plants became ready. And sometimes one group had something the other group wanted. One group might have good stone for tools, another might have shells from the sea, another might have warm animal skins. When they met, they could trade one thing for another. This kind of trade can work, but it is not smooth. It only works when both people want each other's things at the same time. Imagine you have grain, but the other person does not want grain today. They want a pot, or a knife, or cloth. Then you cannot trade. You must look for another person. You may walk a long distance. You may wait many days. And while you wait, your life does not pause. Your food can spoil. Your animals can wander. Your children need care. So even though barter is simple, it can waste time. It can also make long travel and big markets very difficult.
There was another problem too. Some things were hard to divide. If you have a goat, it is not easy to trade a small part of it for a small item. Some things were hard to carry. Some things did not last. So, little by little, people began to choose certain objects to use mainly for trading. Not because they wanted luxury, but because they needed something practical. These objects were different in different places. In one area, salt was valued because it helped keep food from spoiling. In another place, dried skins were valued because they were useful and long-lasting. In other places, beads or shells were valued because they were not easy to find and many people wanted them. Later, metal became valued because it lasted and could be shaped. The idea was simple. People wanted something that could be carried, could last, and could be accepted by many others. When enough people accepted the same kind of object, trade became easier. This was an early step toward money. There were no banks, there were no printed notes, there was only a shared habit. If you give me this, I can use it to trade with someone else later. As this habit spread, trade also spread. Some people followed rivers, Some crossed open land between villages, some followed the coast where fish and salt were common. Travel was slow. People carried goods on the back or in simple bags or on a small animal. When travelers met strangers, they did not rush. They spoke slowly. They showed what they carried. Little by little, certain paths became familiar routes because people returned again and again. Trade carried more than goods. It carried simple ideas. People learned new ways to shape tools, store grain, and build homes. And when trade grew, towns grew. When villages became towns and towns became cities, daily life changed again. A city needed steady food. It needed pottery, cloth, and tools. It needed wood and stone for building. In a city, many people did one kind of work again and again. You can imagine a street in a town. A baker wakes early. Bread is baking inside a small room. A potter shapes clay near the door of a workshop. Someone repairs sandals. Someone sells dried fish. People meet, talk, buy, and sell. Many of these people do not know each other well. Still, they need to trade every day. Stay in that street for a moment. You can hear footsteps on hard ground. You can smell warm bread. You can see dust on hands and clothes. A buyer looks at a bowl or a knife and thinks carefully. A seller watches the buyer's face. Both want the trade to feel fair. The town depends on this quiet daily exchange.
Now, exchange had to be faster. It had to work between strangers. It had to work even when the seller did not need what the buyer brought. So societies moved closer to money, not because people wanted something fancy, but because they needed a smoother way to live together. Metal became useful for this. Metal could be measured by weight. It could be cut into smaller pieces. It could last a long time. People could learn to recognize good metal and bad metal. At first, metal was used as a way to keep value. People weighed it, a little weight for a small item, a heavier weight for a bigger item. But weighing takes time, and not everyone was honest. So in some places, rulers and cities began to mark pieces of metal. A stamp showed the piece was meant to have a certain weight and quality. This made trade smoother. People could accept the marked piece more quickly without weighing it each time. Coins also made travel easier for traders. A traveler could carry value in a small space. They could buy food on the road. They could pay for a place to sleep. Money changed work in a quiet way. A farmer could sell extra grain for coins, then use coins to buy tools or pottery. A potter could sell pots for coins and then buy food. As money spread, it spread with people on the move. Traders carried coins when they walked from town to town. Armies also carried money because soldiers still needed meals and supplies. Empires used money to run many markets at once. If one kind of coin was used in many towns, trade became easier. But you could also feel the empire in small moments. On a market day, a coin checker could stop you and look at your coins. On a tax day, a collector could come and ask for coins, not grain. So money helped the rulers reach into daily life. Because of this, money became linked to the people in charge. People did not only trust the metal itself, they trusted the mark on it. The mark said, "This piece is real." It also said, "The city will stand behind it." For example, in a city market, officials could check coins. If someone used fake coins, the city could punish them. That made trading feel safer for many people, but it also meant the city had more control. If the city changed the rules, everyone in the market had to follow. In small communities, trust is personal. In larger societies, trust becomes more distant.
A person can trade with a stranger because both accept the same money. This can open new paths. It can help a person travel farther and find new work. But this change also created a harder side of the story. When money becomes more important, differences can grow. Some people collect more money. Some people control land and storage. People with more money can wait. People with less money often cannot wait.
Debt also becomes more common. If a family has a bad harvest, they may borrow money or goods. Later, they must repay. If they cannot repay, they may lose land. They may lose animals. They may be forced into years of low-paid work. In many places, rulers demanded taxes in money, not in crops or labor. This sounds simple, but it changes daily life. A farmer may grow food mainly for family use, but if taxes must be paid in coins, the farmer must go to the market. The farmer must sell grain, eggs, or cloth to get money. Sometimes the farmer has to sell at a bad time, when prices are low. Sometimes the farmer meets a trader who offers very little. The farmer may have no choice because the tax day is coming. So money can quietly push people into the market, even when they wanted to live mostly from their own land. You can see the pattern in small moments. Coins can make life move faster, but coins can also be used to demand payment. A landlord can demand rent. A tax collector can set a date. So money can help in calm times, and it can squeeze in hard times. Now let's move forward to another change, money that is lighter than metal. As trade became larger, carrying many coins was not always safe or easy. Coins were heavy. Roads could be dangerous. So in some places, people began to use written promises. A person could leave coins with a trusted place and receive a paper note. The note said, in simple meaning, this paper can be exchanged for the coins later. Imagine a trader preparing for a long journey. The trader brings coins to a safe house in a busy town. The safe house stores them. The trader receives a written note with a clear mark. On the road, the trader can use the note to buy goods. Other merchants accept it because they trust the safe house. They believe the note can be changed back into coins later. Over time, these safe houses became more common. People used them because they wanted a safer way to store money. They also wanted an easier way to carry value when they traveled. Then another change happened. These places began to lend money. Imagine a farmer who wants a stronger tool, or a trader who wants to buy more goods before a long trip. They may not have enough coins today, so they borrow coins. Later, they give the coins back. They also give a little extra because they used the money for a time. This could help business and travel grow, but it also created risk. If people stopped trusting the notes, trade could slow down. And if many people borrowed more than they could repay, debt could spread and pull families into trouble. Then machines and industry changed daily life again. In ancient life, many people worked close to fields, animals, and simple tools. In industrial life, machines increased production. Factories made cloth, tools, and other goods in large amounts. Trains and ships moved goods faster than before. Cities grew quickly. For many people, this brought comfort. You could buy bread even if you did not grow wheat. You could wear cloth made far away. You could light a candle you did not make. But something else changed quietly. Your life began to follow your pay. Imagine a worker in a city. A bell rings. Work begins. At the end of the week, the worker is paid. The worker buys food. The worker pays for a small room. The worker buys fuel for cooking.
If the factory closed for a week, the worker's pocket became empty. If the pocket became empty, the worker still needed food and rent. In earlier village life, a family might still have eggs, grain, or a small garden. In the new city life, many families had only their wages. So money made life easier and also more fragile. In the modern world, money can feel invisible. Coins and paper notes still exist, but many people touch them less. Instead, money sits in a bank. Your pay can go straight into the bank. When you buy food, you might tap a card or a phone. You do not hand over metal. You do not count notes. You only see a small number change. This feels different from an old market where someone weighed metal in the open air. But the goal is still the same. It helps people trade quickly, even when they do not know each other. Still, the basic idea has not changed. Money works because many people accept it. For example, you can give money to a baker for bread. The baker can use the same money to pay for flour or to pay for rent. The money keeps moving from one hand to another, and this helps daily life continue. Now let's come back to the present, to you. Next time you hold a coin, or see a paper note, or tap your phone to pay, pause for a moment. Think about the long path behind that small action. Long ago, someone carried salt to trade for grain. Someone brought skins to a town market. Someone weighed metal before buying a tool. Someone walked for days with goods on their back. Someone paid taxes in coins they struggled to earn. Someone saved small pieces of value to prepare for a harder season. And now, money moves quickly around you. It is in shops, buses, rent payments, and simple daily choices. It helps you live inside a large society full of people you do not know. Money is ordinary today, but it quietly helped shape roads, markets, cities, and empires. It shaped movement and work. It shaped how power could grow and how people could be pushed by debt and taxes. So when you see money, you can see more than a thing to spend. You can see a long human change. You can see how people slowly moved from small exchanges to big ways of trading. Thank you for listening with me. Take your time, stay calm, and when you are ready, we can listen again. If you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.